Have you ever loved someone who knew about it and used it as a weapon? Denji did, and that's exactly why he never stood a chance. Today, we're not analyzing a villain, we're analyzing a system. Makima from Chainsaw Man is one of the most discussed female characters in recent anime, but people focus on the wrong thing. They ask, is she evil? Wrong question. The right question is, how does professional manipulation work? And Makima, she's a masterclass. Let's break down the psychology of gaslighting through the lens of anime's most perfect abuser. Before we talk about the manipulator, we need to understand the victim. Because Makima didn't hunt a strong person, she found exactly the one who was missing just one look. Denji grew up without love, without safety, without a future. His father committed suicide, leaving him with Yakuza debt. He lived in poverty, eating bread with jam as a luxury. His basic needs weren't power or meaning, they were simple: to be needed, to be noticed, to be loved. When Makima first showed him kindness, gave him food, gave him a place to stay, gave him a purpose, Denji didn't see manipulation, he saw salvation. And that's the perfect foundation for control. Because people who've never had warmth don't know what healthy warmth looks like. They'll accept any version of it, even the poisoned one. Denji wasn't stupid, Denji was starving. And Makima knew exactly what he was hungry for. How the hook works. Makima never gives closeness freely, only as a reward for obedience. The pattern is simple: coldness, hint of warmth, condition fulfilled, coldness again. Watch any scene between them. In the car, at her apartment, every moment of intimacy is measured, controlled, conditional. She'll touch his head, let him rest near her, give him that look, then pull away the moment he's comfortable. This is called intermittent reinforcement. It's the same mechanism that makes gambling addictive. Your brain doesn't attach to what's always there, it attaches to what's sometimes there. When a slot machine pays out every time, you get bored. When it pays out randomly, you can't stop pulling the lever. Makima is the slot machine, and Denji keeps pulling. Every small moment of warmth, a smile, a touch, a word of approval, triggers a dopamine hit. And because he doesn't know when the next one is coming, he stays, always hoping, always waiting. This isn't love, this is behavioral conditioning. And it works because Denji has no reference point for what love should feel like. Now about actual gaslighting. Makima never says you must, she says you want this yourself. Denji doesn't feel like a tool, he feels chosen, special, important. This is the difference between control and manipulation. Control you can see, manipulation you can't. Gaslighting isn't lying, it's editing reality so the victim arrives at the desired conclusion themselves. Let me show you how this works in practice. Remember when Makima tells Denji to kill? She doesn't order him, she frames it as protection, as purpose, as the thing that will make him worthy of her. You're my dog, she says, and Denji hears, you're mine. One word, two completely different meanings, but Denji interprets it the way she designed him to. That's not accident, that's precision. Makima rewrites every interaction so Denji believes his suffering is necessary, his obedience is love, his sacrifice is choice. And when reality contradicts this, when Aki dies, when power is taken, when everything falls apart, Denji blames himself, not her. Because that's what gaslighting does. It makes you the villain of your own story. Here's the most underrated technique. Makima doesn't isolate Denji crudely, she makes him special. You're not like them is the classic abuser phrase disguised as a compliment. She tells him he's different, better, the only one who can do what needs to be done, the only one she trusts. And what does Denji do? He distances himself from everyone who could protect him. Aki tries to warn him. Power shows him genuine care, but Makima's voice is louder because she made herself the center of his world. Isolation through flattery is building a cage out of gold. Denji doesn't see the bars, he sees the shine. And by the time he realizes he's trapped, everyone who could help him is already gone. This is surgical manipulation, every word calculated, every gesture planned. Makima doesn't need to physically lock Denji away, she makes him lock himself away. From help, from reality, from anyone who might show him what healthy love looks like. Let's talk theory, but in human language. Why does this work so effectively on Denji? 3 psychological concepts. Attachment theory. People with anxious attachment styles are especially vulnerable to this. Denji never had stable caregiving. never learned what secure attachment feels like. So when Makima offers conditional love, his brain doesn't register it as wrong, it registers it as normal. Trauma bonding. The more pain and periodic relief, the stronger the bond. This is why abuse victims often defend their abusers. It's not stupidity, it's neurochemistry. Every time Makima hurts Denji and then shows him kindness, his brain releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Over time, pain and love become connected. He can't separate the two anymore. Cognitive dissonance. She hurts me, but I love her, creates mental conflict. The brain needs to resolve this. She's bad for me, I should leave, or I must deserve this pain. Option B is easier, because option A means admitting he was wrong about the person he built his entire identity around. So Denji chooses to believe he's the problem, not her. This isn't weakness, this is how human psychology works under sustained manipulation. Denji isn't stupid, Denji is a human in a situation that psychology has studied for decades. This isn't accidental writing. Tatsuki Fujimoto knows exactly what he's showing us. Makima isn't just evil woman with power, she's an archetype, a system that uses love as a tool of control. The manga literally tells us she can't love because she sees everyone as either subordinates or threats. She doesn't want Denji the person, she wants Chainsaw Man the weapon, and she'll use Denji's humanity against him to get it. Fujimoto writes abuse from the inside. No judgment of the victim, no romanticization of the manipulator. He doesn't say Denji is weak, he says this is how it works, with anyone. That's what makes Chainsaw Man brilliant. It's not just a story about devils and violence, it's a story about power, about control, about what happens when someone knows your weaknesses better than you do. And the scariest part? Makima isn't supernatural in her manipulation. Everything she does, real people do. The control devil powers are metaphor. The psychological tactics are real. Let's talk about power for a moment, because she shows us what the opposite looks like. Power loves Denji differently. She's chaotic, selfish, annoying, but she's genuine. She doesn't condition her affection. She doesn't manipulate. She just is. When power cares, it's messy and inconvenient and real. There's no calculation, no hidden meaning. And you know what? Denji doesn't notice this at first, because healthy love is unfamiliar to people who grew up without it. Denji is so used to working for affection, earning closeness, proving his worth, that when someone just gives it freely, he doesn't recognize it as valuable. This isn't a romantic subplot, this is diagnostic. We recognize love by pain, if that's what we were taught. Power's death hits Denji harder than anything Makima does to him, because Power never lied, never used him, never made him small. She just loved him, in her weird, selfish way, but loved him. And when she's gone, Denji realizes what he lost, not a manipulator who made him feel special, a person who made him human. What happens when the illusion breaks? Not loss of meaning. When Denji learns the truth, that Makima orchestrated everything, every moment was calculated, that he never mattered as a person, he doesn't feel angry, he feels empty. And this is realistic. Abuse victims rarely feel rage immediately. They feel grief, because they didn't lose a bad person, they lost who that person could have been. They lost the version they believed in. Denji doesn't hate Makima after the final confrontation, he's devastated. Because his entire identity was built around being her dog, being useful to her, being loved by her. Take that away, what's left? The scene where Denji eats Makima isn't triumphant, it's tragic. He's not defeating evil, he's consuming the person who defined him. Even in victory, he's still trapped by what she made him. That's the ultimate horror of manipulation. Even after escape, the patterns remain. So why does this matter outside of Chainsaw Man? Because these patterns exist in real relationships, real workplaces, real families. Makima, a monster. She's a recognizable model of behavior, and it's important to know how to spot it. Conditional affection, rewriting your reality through elevation. These aren't anime tropes, these are real manipulation tactics. And the victims aren't weak or stupid, they're human. They're people who were taught that love requires suffering, that closeness requires that they're only valuable when they're useful. If you recognized yourself in Denji's story, that's not weakness, That's awareness, and awareness is the first step to breaking the pattern. Here's the final question. If Denji had grown up knowing what healthy love looked like, could Makima have broken him? I don't think so. The strongest defense against manipulation isn't intelligence, it's knowing you deserve, and knowing when you're not getting it. Makima is a perfect abuser, but perfection has a weakness. It only works on people who don't know better. So learn better. Chainsaw Man isn't just horror and action, it's psychology wrapped in blood and chainsaws. Makima is one of the best written manipulators in fiction because she feels real, because people like her exist. And understanding how she works isn't just analysis, it's protection. If you found this breakdown helpful, drop a comment. Have you noticed these patterns in other characters in real life? Thanks for watching. Love shouldn't hurt. If it does, it's not love, it's control.